Welcome back, everyone, to the Fastbreak-Podcast. This is episode 41, I believe. 60. This is episode 41 of the Fastbreak-Podcast. We got none other than my brother. Say your name. What's your name, Moses? What's your name?
Moses Coburn.
Moses Coburn. And we got our even more special guest.
Bryce O'Donnell, baby.
Yes, sir. This is the fourth guest, technically, we've had this month, so it's been super cool to have everyone on here. So, today we're going to be talking about some trade scenarios, because, the trade deadline is coming up in February, and then we got playoff, predictions and matchups that might be happening, and we could throw in anything else we want to talk about. So do you want to start with trades? Trade scenarios?
Yeah, so all of these are involving the Kings, by the way, so that's the first little
We are all Kings fans.
tidbit. Yeah, I got my playoff shirt, went to game 1 last year, so that's my my merch. You did?
Yeah, we did. We got
You were at game one?
we got the Feel the Roar t-shirts, remember?
Yeah, the white Field of Roar. I have that too.
Wait.
I went to game 1.
We were at the same game.
Wait.
That's crazy.
Wait, we were at the same game.
I was at game 1. Okay,
That's so funny.
that was before we met, so we were at the same game. But
That would have been funny if we did.
anyways,
So do you want to switch off from
yeah, we'll go switch. So we each have 5.
You could go first.
I'll
And
go
Lois will be
first.
I'll
Which
give
one?
my opinion.
I don't want to do this one first.
Yeah, that
So
would
we'll
start
go
off very bad.
I guess
Do you want to start off with the Zach?
let's start with Zach LaVine
Alright,
because
yeah,
we
can talk
both
about-
we
good
both
way to
did Zach
start it off.
LaVine, and I think that's the most likely. So mine is Zach LaVine and Alex Caruso is who the Kings would be getting, and we're giving up Trey Lyles, Harrison Barnes, Kevin Huerter, and then a 2027 and a 2029 first round pick.
Are those first round, second round?
They're both
No,
first,
They're both first.
and they both have a top 8 protection in case anything goes wrong with the contracts and the Kings suck for whatever reason. Just top 8 protected. So we get 2 players, we give up 3, and then 2 first round picks.
So we give up our 2 wings in Kevin Huerter and Harrison Barnes. Well, obviously, Kings fans are tired of Harrison Barnes. He's been here for a while, and we're ready for him to move on. And Kevin Huerter hasn't really performed other than this week. But yeah, I think it's a good trade for both Kings and the Bulls. But yeah, we're losing 2 starters. But at the end of the day, we're getting Zach LaVine.
Yeah,
So I
that's
think
a
it's
big one.
Yeah.
And I think
could just play shooting guard.
You could be in there, yeah.
Yeah.
I think the Bulls would do this because they were already playing really good without Zach LaVine anyways, and so getting 3 very serviceable players for Zach LaVine, and you're giving up Alex Caruso, but you're also getting 2 first round picks, and you're getting 3 players as well in place of Zach LaVine. So I think that's kind of the reason for both sides, and then Kings obviously get Zach LaVine and a really good defensive player in Alex Caruso. So that would leave the Kings with Fox, LaVine, Caruso, Keegan Murray, and Sabonis, which I think is a really good starting 5.
Yeah, that's good. So I also did Zach LaVine and Alex Caruso. So I did Zach LaVine and Alex Caruso for Harrison Barnes, Kevin Huerter, and Davion Mitchell.
Okay.
And then I put in a first round pick and then 2 seconds.
Okay.
For, Zach LaVine and Alex Caruso. I think it's just nice because we're not getting rid of Trey Lyles. It's not like Trey Lyles is a huge piece, but he's a good person for the depth of this squad. And Davion Mitchell isn't playing a lot of minutes for Mike Brown, and so I think just keeping a player that's actually more valuable to the team is better for the Kings depth. So we're not giving up players that we actually need when we don't have to.
And then I think that trade probably works a little bit better because the Bulls fill Alex Caruso's spot with a little bit more of Davion Mitchell instead of Trey Lyles. They play a little more similar, and they also have Patrick Williams, Vucevic. There's not as much of a spot for Trey Lyles, so I think that's also a good. They don't get the 2 firsts, but I think matchup and play style, that would probably help their team for the now. So if I had to pick, I'd probably pick yours. That fits a little bit better.
You see, I like yours, but they're both very similar.
Yeah, it's just really close. But 2 firsts is it was a debate. I didn't know, but 2 firsts is it's a lot.
Yeah, that is a lot. But Zach LaVine, I feel is a player that the Kings can very much so have potential to get in either this season or if it's the off season. I personally think they should wait for the offseason because I feel like just trading 2 starters and another player and some picks and stuff and midway through the season for 2 new players that haven't even been in Mike Brown's system yet. I feel like waiting for the offseason is a good idea, even though as much as we want Zach LaVine and Alex Caruso, I think it would be best if we wait for the offseason if no one has taken them yet.
Yeah, and I think something that I always think about when I think about these trades is that I think it was like 2018 or 19, the Kings signed Zach LaVine to a contract, and then they got matched with the Bulls. So the Kings had Zach LaVine for a little bit, and then he got matched, so right back to the Bulls.
Yeah.
And I wonder what would have happened with that. I don't know. Because that would have never, the Tyrese Halliburton draft and trade would have never happened. So
yeah, that is true. We would have...
Huh? We wouldn't have Sabonis.
So
that is true, yeah.
It would be a lot different in history.
Different. And that's a pretty amazing big 3 with De'Aaron, Zach LaVine, and Demonis.
And then also keeping Keegan Murray.
And then keeping Keegan Murray. That's great. But I feel like for the Bulls, I feel like anyone who's going to trade a good, at least decent player from the Bulls, like Zach LaVine or let's say Lauri Markkanen, everyone, they're going to start off asking for Keegan Murray.
Yeah.
But we have to really keep in mind the talent that we draft because we drafted Tyrese, who was good on the Kings but now is a starter for the East All-Stars. So just being aware of the talent that we have and not trading them too early I think is good.
Exactly.
But yeah, that's a good trade. So moving on to the next one, I'll say mine. This one isn't even we're taking it down a notch, right? But this is a trade that I wanted to happen last season because he's a great defender, and I feel like he would have been crucial for last season, especially against the Warriors in that playoff run we had, to guard like Stephen Curry to help him not score 50 on us in Game 7. This player I'm talking about is Matisse Thybulle. If you have not heard of this guy before, he's a great defender. He can't shoot, but he can score in the paint, and he's kind of like a better version of Kessler Edwards. Like we have Kessler Edwards now, but like he's just more of he's a good team defender. He could guard one-on-one. He could score a little bit. I feel like he's overall just a good player, and he's on a decent contract for only $10 million. And I think trading Davion Mitchell and Chris Duarte for Matisse Thybulle in a second round in I think 2027 or something is a solid trade because the Portland Trailblazers, they're not going anywhere this season or maybe in a season to come. They're in that rebuilding stage with drafting young players like Shaedon Sharpe and Scoot Henderson. And I feel like getting another good guard to develop like Davion Mitchell and a good guard to develop like Chris Duarte will be good for the rebuilding process for this team. And the Kings get a good defender in return, which is what they need. So I think that's a overall pretty good trade in my opinion. Do you have any thoughts on that one?
I think that's good. Yeah, just getting another defender in there. Don't give up too much, and it's not a crazy trade. It's not going to break the league, but it definitely will make an impact. I did a trade with the Trailblazers as well, but it was not for Matisse Thybulle.
Not for Matisse Thybulle.
I have a trade where the Kings received Jeremy Grant and Malcolm Brogdon. So that will be two just more veteran presence guys that are on a very weirdly built Trailblazers team, which makes sense because when you get Damian Lillard, they got Drew Holiday and DeAndre Ayton in return, which is definitely a weird package. So obviously they shipped those guys out, got in. Just a random package. I think the first that they got from that trade were really beneficial, but they ended up with 2 veterans, and now they're I think the 14 seed right now, right? Or the 11 seed or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
So most likely not going to make the playoffs or even be near the play-in, and this just gives their players a better shot somewhere else. And then the Kings are giving up Harrison Barnes, Kevin Huerter, and Trey Lyles, and then a 2027 unprotected first. So that would be kind of their incentive is that first-round pick, and then they get... I mean, you could argue just as well-off players, just giving Harrison Barnes and Kevin Huerter just another environment to play in because I think Sacramento they've been great, but I think just giving them another opportunity somewhere else is just kind of maybe testing the waters for both teams. There's no real, I think, gain for either side, but there's definitely reasons for both teams to accept it. But A little interesting, just Jeremy Grant's averaging over 20 points a game.
Yeah.
And Malcolm Brogdon, I think, is at the 15-16 mark, and he's a great defender. So just getting two more really great players for the Kings. I just have the lineup that would leave them with, and it would be Fox, Brogdon, Keegan Murray, Jeremy Grant, and Sabonis. So that's also just like the Bulls trade, I think, leaves the Kings with a really great starting lineup. And I think that's a fair package in return. But I would also understand if the Trailblazers were to not accept that trade just because, Jeremy Grant and Malcolm Brogdon are pretty good players. So.
Yeah, as much as I would want the Kings to get two great starters, they did just re-sign Jeremy Grant to a new contract. So I don't know how pleased they would be to trade him right after they just extended him. But he is do you know what his contract is at all?
I think I think it kicks in at the start of next season.
Oh yeah, in the start of next season.
But I don't know exactly what it is.
Yeah,
it was a 5-year deal.
Yeah, I remember it was a solid deal for Jeremy Grant, who's a great player now, but you never know who he'll be in a couple of seasons from now. But yeah, that would definitely be adding two good scorers and good defenders that could stretch the floor. I feel like that's an overall great trade. Who are they giving up again?
The Kings?
Yeah.
It would be Harrison Barnes, Kevin Huerter, Trey Lyles in a first. So three serviceable players in a first-round pick. I mean, there's definitely reasons for both teams to accept it, but there's reasons for both teams to not accept it. So I could see that one going either way.
Yeah, I think I could see it going either way. I could see the Kings saying no to that trade, and I could see the Blazers saying no to that trade for many different reasons. So but I think that's a good trade, especially for replacing players that we are kind of wanting to move on from, like Kevin Huerter and Harrison Barnes, and replacing them with new, younger talent that has more potential and can give us more defense and offense to make us get into the playoff run. So I think that's